Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn, where we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Thomas, the human bard. Joining me today is...
Mercy, the tiefling wizard.
And Onog, the half-orc barbarian.
And also Bean, the rock gnome rogue.
Practicing her disguises.
Yes.
Again.
You're such a weirdo.
Yeah, this is me pronouncing it in halfling.
In halfling?
It's a halfling dialect.
Halfling.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a specific halfling dialect.
I studied halfling at wizard school.
I hate this so much.
Guys, we want people to listen to this, right? Like,
No,
Halfling is very hard to read because of all the letter Y's they put in their words.
we don't want them to listen. We want them to like, subscribe, and then just kind of walk away. Just let
We
it
don't care
play.
if you listen.
Just let it play in the background. On this episode of the show, we're going to be looking at a 5th edition race option homebrew that Onog has brought. Onog, tell us about this race you've brought.
so the race that I've brought is a playable goblin race for 5th edition. Now, you may be thinking, but Onog,
Isn't
there's
there already?
already one of those.
Fair enough.
Well, tell that to D&D Wiki, where I got this from.
Not the wiki!
Well, this may have
no.
been released before the Goblin race.
It was
wasn't
released 3 months before the Goblin race was released in Volo's Guide to Monsters. So it was made with full understanding that there would be a Goblin player race in in D&D.
But
No,
they
it just
decided...
means that whoever wrote this is psychic.
Oh, sure, that they're psychic.
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
being said, there are various differences, and in primarily amongst them being that it is this race has sub races.
Okay.
And so that's why I thought to bring it forward, because like this like I said, it's made by D&D Wiki, so it's kind of hard to actually give credit to who made it because it's basically a community post that has been edited a bunch of times by different users. But a lot of its things aren't too far off, and but some of them are, and it's just I wanted to see and kind of
Compare and contrast
differentiate
a little
them
bit.
because it has been being edited since Volos came out.
Are we going to
Well,
start
so-
with all of this like lore, or are we
Love
going
the
to
art.
focus on the statistics more? Which one are we kind of going for?
Well, we can focus on the lore. It's just it does kind of flesh goblins out in a kind of a more different way. They're still small, 3 to 4 feet tall, and they come in varying hues from oranges to green.
Well, we all know that each goblin is named Hugh. It just is what kind of hue.
Also,
I was just really enjoying the goblin names on here, actually.
Also, as we know from tieflings, if you say that a thing can vary in hue, any color is now game, regardless of what colors you said originally.
Well, mostly it just means it's purple.
Yeah,
Mostly it just means it's purple.
Mostly.
Mostly it means purple.
I love the names of the abilities here.
Yeah. Well, don't read ahead. What are you doing? Oh no! Present us with some
Yeah,
of the
no
facts
cheating.
about the goblins.
Okay, so it has a history section, and it kind of goes into more of that, as opposed to goblins just being dirt people that live in the mountains. It gives them like that they have a history rich in folklore and tall tales, very, very like Lorwyn goblins from Magic the Gathering.
I see this one. It's like fairy tales about like a young goblin riding a chicken into an orc camp and stuff like that.
Yeah,
where it's like
stuff
crazy
like
things
that.
goblins have done.
But it does also kind of take the side of the goblins in the history section here, where it's like mostly every evil things goblins did was because they were subjugated by a more powerful race to do it, kind of a thing. And so it's much more sympathetic towards the goblins than I think even some of the most comedic interpretations have been in Dungeons & Dragons so far. Now, on that note, let's go into Goblin Society,
Well,
where
real quick before we move on, I do want to like touch on. I love the idea that goblins like campfire stories are all just like, yeah, my buddy rode a dragon into town once. Like they're all just like weird things their buddy did one time. Just like, oh, you should have been there. My buddy one time he hopped into a wizard's hat, and then the wizard put the hat on without knowing he was in it. And like these crazy, weird, like outlandish stories. That's like how I'm going to flavor all goblin like campfires from now on.
Oh yeah, we were sitting around there and my buddy, he stole the whole road.
One brick at a time.
I ever tell you
Stuff
about
like
that
that.
one time I went on a date with a sphinx? Just like, what?
What?
Hey, I did that once.
Goblin folklore.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and so it talks about how evil goblin societies are frequently at war and things like that. And then it goes down, some goblins believe in reincarnation, which makes them even more dangerous than normal goblins.
Uh-oh.
As without the fear of death, they have no qualms about dying or sacrificing other goblins.
This is why I'm never trusting of clerics, okay? If you believe in a good afterlife, you're gonna be reckless and you're gonna endanger yourself and others, okay?
But yeah, and so I just find it interesting that literally the history section goes, yeah, goblins are just cool storytellers, man. And then in the society section it goes, yeah, they're super evil all the time, and then they kill each other.
Kind of undercuts the message here.
Yeah, which is also another one of those things where it's like, this has been edited by committee, and certain people may have been
Multiple
changing things.
The ending of Society, where it's like, if you do let them into your society, they just join gangs.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I do like that it says that goblins live in loose clans ruled by a leader they refer to as a mob boss,
Ross.
which I did misread as Mob Ross the first time I read it, which I was like, what a wonderful leader to have, a goblin
There's a
named
kind-
Mob Ross.
A kind artisan goblin.
But he still does like to beat the hell out of the paint. You know what I mean?
Just beat
Just
the
beat the
devil
devil out of
Beat
it.
the devil out of it. Yeah.
All right, next section is just goblin names. It's just more little goblin society things. But now let's get to the meat and potatoes.
It does say that a male goblin name is Drax, which makes me consider that the character from Guardians of the Galaxy is just a large goblin.
I like the female name Wallow, because that just sounds like she's edgy as hell. Like, that's my Goblin Goth GF. I'm Wallow.
I wallow in sorrow.
It's who I am.
All right, so the goblin traits continue as ability score increase.
Wait,
You get a
Onog. I need you to read
What?
the sentence right before the ability score increase, and just read it out vocally too.
The goblin traits. The question isn't why would you want to play a goblin. The question is how uncomfortable are you with your character setting himself on fire. And that is, I believe, a very good question to have if you ever wanted to play a goblin in the first place.
That's hilarious.
Does that make
I
me
love
a
that.
goblin?
Yes. You are just a person.
Have
goblin.
I not been a rock gnome rogue this whole time?
Bean, you do often set yourself on fire. I've been meaning
Yeah.
to talk to you about it. We can move on to the statistics now.
Alright, so the ability score increase for goblins is your dexterity is increased by 2, and then you'll get another ability score increase for your subclass. Age, goblins fully mature at age 3, but they are short-lived because I don't think... this seems to go off the rules that not a single goblin has ever died of natural causes. So there is no definitive upper scale goblin
one-
age, but it...
So
no
it
one
is
knows
like
how
the
long a goblin can live.
It's like those scientists that have the lobster that they're seeing how old. Like if you did get a goblin and like raise it in a tank.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe
How old would
it
it
could
live?
live indefinitely and become the wisest
Yeah.
of us all. But what
It
would
becomes
really
a great
happen
old one.
is that somehow in that tank it would find a way to die on accident.
Oh my gosh.
It would light itself on fire.
Somehow. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, and so the oldest goblin ever recorded was a 43-year-old Bogart elder that fell into a bog and drowned.
Yeah, Humphrey, right?
Alright.
What?
Humphrey Bogart. Don't worry about it. We can move on.
Wow!
I know Humphrey, the 43-year-old
Yeah,
goblin.
yeah.
We all know him. Okay.
All right.
He's dreamy.
Yeah.
I hate all of you. All right, alignment we don't care about, but it's gonna be chaotic
Yeah.
or not lawful, as this one breaks it down. Size is small, but your speed is still 30 because goblins is quick. Dark vision, of course. You get dark vision up to 60 feet. And you get the ability Nimble Escape. Goblins know when to run when things get heated. When you are the target of an opportunity attack, you may use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that attack.
Love it.
Ooh.
So that's a very
Yeah.
interesting way. I believe this is resolved in Volo's Guide to Monsters by they can take the disengage action as a bonus action instead of like 3 things that require specific locations
And you
to
still might-
impose
And
disadvantage.
you still might
Yeah.
get hit. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is one of those abilities where it's like, you're going in the right direction, but you might be overthinking it a bit.
Fair enough.
All right, so the languages they can speak are Common and Goblin, and the sub-races are the Greenskins, the Bogarts, a la Humphrey, and the Gremlins. So the Greenskins are kind of more of what we typically see as a goblin and what we typically see in Volo's guide as the actual goblin stats. It's a little closer to that, though they have a few key differences. So first, the ability score increase is the Constitution by 1. So that so far lines up. Mudslinger. Insults are your pastime. You gain the cantrip Vicious Mockery.
Oh,
Charisma is your spellcasting ability for the spell.
I love that.
Interesting.
very good, very good.
Now, while that's nice and flavorful that, the goblins are just insulting you, this race has no bonuses to charisma,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
so this is most likely going to be a either initially moderately early game useful ability sometimes, but it's going to quickly get outstripped by anything else that you have going on.
But I
And-
do,
I mean,
Unless you're a charisma based class.
Sure. I do like the option that because how Vicious Mockery works, it's a saving throw. So there's always the chance they could get like a natural 1 on that saving throw, and that goblin just somehow got him right in the point
Got him
where
so
they're weak.
good.
That guy's got a feminine hit.
I was literally about to say that.
John Mulaney bit. Where it's like they just knew the one thing that would get that. Like normally they're just like, yeah, you're ugly, and the guy's like, whatever, I don't care. But they're like, yeah, and probably your dad never loved you, and you're like, you take that back.
But yeah, and so that's kind of cool depending on how you build this goblin, but otherwise it's going to quickly fall by the wayside. Wargrider. Greenskins are amicable relationships with wargs, whom they ride into battle. They have proficiency in the animal handling skill.
Okay, sure.
So that's also very similar
Do I
to
get a
like
warg?
stat blocks and things like that. Yeah, go get a warg. And then the last ability for the Greenskins is Run for It. When the odds are against you, at least you can trust your legs. When using the disengage action, which is something that is already disincentivized because they have the nimble escape ability, but using the disengage action, difficult terrain doesn't cost extra movement on that turn.
Oh, see, I liked the idea that it's like you trust in your legs and you just let them take you, and it meant that you could like triple your speed, but you had to run in a straight line. So if you ran into something, you just did.
You had to run your full movement. No,
Yeah.
like as far as you possibly can,
In
no
a
matter
straight line.
what. Uh-huh. that
And
would
you
be
might just
just your legs just Scooby Doo out under
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
just doing the
Yeah.
pinwheel. Scram!
where are you going? I trusted my legs. Borky, that's the ocean.
And then he
And it's
returns
just because
to
you
the
have to
ocean
move
from
your
whence he
full
came.
movement speed. He just ran across the top of the water. Yeah, so that is the Greenskins. So already some neat abilities that unless specifically synergized into are probably not going to be very helpful, but also some abilities that actually are disconnected from the abilities that the base race gets.
For sure.
So it's just kind of, all right, cool. Next step are the Bogarts. These are the swamp goblins. They live in swamps and marshes, and they are smaller in number than the Greenskins, but they have communal relationships and fierce defense of their territory. Yada 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 yada. Okay, ability score increase. Years in the swamp have made your kind craftier than the average goblin. Your wisdom score is increased by 1. All right, so this is
Which also will give
this
you
is a mildly wiser goblin.
Yeah.
Bog swimmer. Bogart hit and run tactics usually include a good dose of swimming. You have a swim speed of 25 feet. Okay, cool. Bogart weapon proficiency. Your clan has trained you well in proficiency with the blowgun and the net.
Okay.
Nice little extra things. I'm
Okay,
pretty
so
sure
they're
the
like the
blowgun is a simple weapon, and therefore everyone already knows how to wield that weapon.
But these are
that's
the little
fine.
swampy boys that pop up and like shoot.
Yeah.
You know.
These are like the
Yeah,
Black
very
Ops.
grung, Black Ops.
These are like the solid snakes of the D&D world.
These are the Navy SEALs
Yeah.
of the Goblin world.
This is SEAL Team 6 Goblin style.
Bravo 6, Going dog.
Does everybody have proficiency in all simple weapons though? Because I don't.
Not everybody
Yeah.
is, but anyone who would be using a blowgun already knows how to use one.
Right, because I was like, I'm pretty sure wizards don't. Like, some casters don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Casters don't, but they have different ways of just doing that.
most people do. Maybe if you, like, I don't know why you would, but if you, like, randomly turned into a cat, you might lose your proficiency.
Randomly
I don't
turn
know why
into
that
a
would
cat.
happen.
So,
per
but
se.
then why would your race proficiency in how to use a blowgun help you in that scenario?
Okay, I was just trying to make a callback joke. I don't need you to actually...
Callbacks need to make sense. We
I don't
talked
need you-
about this.
I don't need you to analyze it.
All right, and then the final one, you have advantage on saving throws against poison and diseases, and you have resistance against poison damage. So this is very interesting in it's not just like the dwarvish poison resistance, it also includes diseases in your resistances.
That's cool.
So that's kind of a neat little. These goblins don't really shift well into the slippery versus chunky.
yeah,
It's-
I was gonna bring that up
because
eventually.
like some because the green skins have more health, but they're more slippery. But the
You really don't
Bogarts
like
are
saying
slippery,
that.
but they have more constitution-based abilities.
You really want to keep saying green screens, don't you? I keep hearing it. You really
Nope.
would like to.
Well, there is also the option for spicy, so we can have slippery, chonky, and spicy. If that helps.
Yeah, maybe this is the spicy one.
So the next step is the Gremlins, aka Tinker Goblins. So the ability and score increase for this one is for intelligence, because these are the smarter ones, I guess.
It
So
says
these
that
are
these ones are red.
These
instead
are
of
very
green?
likely the spicy one. Yeah, it says the skin ranges from turquoise to red, which are drastically different
That's
colors.
like all the colors.
And
that is
hair
a
on their
majority
body.
of the colors.
I don't like these goblins. They're weird.
Yeah.
Oh wait, if it's turquoise and red, these are the like New Mexico color palette goblins. Adobe goblins.
But yeah, so basically, because of their time with the rock gnomes, they also got a passion for tinkering. But these are not the tinkerings of fine little birds or watches. These are the tinkering of explosives. Because the next ability is almost fireproof.
Almost.
You have set yourself on fire so often that you have gotten used to it. Not how that works, but okay. You are
I've
resistant
built
to
up
fire
an
damage.
immunity.
I've
to
built up
fire.
an immunity to fire.
I shot fire into my veins and vaccinated myself.
No, guys, my next character is definitely gonna be a goblin that's like, I've built up an immunity to fire and doesn't understand.
I love
not
the
what that
idea that
is.
there's probably just like a piece of their clothing always a little bit on fire, and you're like, hey, put that out. And they're like, oh, sorry. And then they put it out, and like another spot immediately like bursts into flame.
Erupts into
It's
flame.
like they just can never get all the fire out.
And you think they're kidding, but it turns out maybe they are kind of immune to fire.
Yeah, I mean they're resistant to fire damage.
They are gonna do the best. So this next ability is probably one of the weirdest I think I've ever seen.
Ooh.
Tinkerer.
That is
You
interesting,
count.
yeah.
You count as a tinker gnome for all feats.
What?
So that they can
So-
take feats that are specifically for
Okay.
You can
gnomes,
take
yeah.
you can take gnome racial feats basically.
Just, I mean, that's a way of putting it. You could just say you have the ability to take gnome racial feats.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean
yeah.
that's just what
yeah.
that says.
Yeah, I know. It just.
That's a different sentence.
I
that
know,
said the
but
same
it
thing.
is confusing to me. I don't like to count things. I don't want math involved.
It's basically giving them like the racial type of gnome while not having it.
Yeah.
While
Yeah,
not
which is
being
cool.
a gnome, yeah.
I actually think
They
that's a cool
pass for
space to
gnome.
explore.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. All right, now the final piece for the Tinker, for the Gremlin. Dangerous Tinker. The gnomes like pretty things, but you like your creations to be a little more dynamic. You have proficiency with one artisan's tools of your choice. Using those tools, you can spend 1 hour and 10 gold worth of materials to construct a tiny clockwork device. So when they say you are proficient in an artisan's tool of your choice, they mean tinker's tools.
No. You use watercolors
Yeah.
to make a tiny clockwork device.
I'm using my
Brewer's tools.
calligraphy tools to make a tiny clockwork device.
You just
Okay.
draw it, and then you throw it at someone.
Yeah.
You draw it and it
All
comes
right.
to life, like that old children's book where the kid draws.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
mildly terrifying. All right, and this device works for 24 hours or when you use your action to dismantle it. You can have up to 3 devices active at one time, and you may claim the parts used to create the device once it stops functioning.
So this is basically making your race artificer.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically
Kind
like
of, yeah.
a shift of the Rock Gnome Tinker abilities,
Yeah.
but it's making it more goblin-y. You can only do this if they did not explode, however.
I love that.
When you create a device, choose one of the following. The Arsonist's Friend.
Okay.
A small brass rod with a slit at the top and a button on the side. When the button on the device is pushed, roll a d6. On a 2 to 6, the device produces a miniature flame, which you can use to light a candle, torch, or campfire. On a roll of a 1, the device explodes, causing 1d4 fire damage to the user.
Okay,
Look, I didn't start the fire. I'm just the arsonist's friend. I was just watching while some other guy did it.
I see.
I do like that all goblins in our world are from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're also establishing they're also Bon Jovi, where they didn't start the fire, but they definitely did start the fire.
I'm pretty sure you at least kindled it.
I'm noticing a through line with these devices. Tell me about the blast
Have you found the
orb.
through line yet? Have you found it? Next device you could make is a blast orb. The device is a small brass orb, not a blast orb, that makes a ticking sound once a small button at the top is pressed. 1 round after the button at the top is pressed, the device explodes in a 5-foot radius, dealing 1d8 fire damage to anything within it. If the device is destroyed, nothing happens.
So you can disarm it.
Yeah,
So you can
if
basically
just-
break it without pushing the
Yeah,
button.
if you break it, it doesn't explode. Okay, that's
Alright.
nice.
Bomb Boy, a clockwork tiny construct that is in the form of a goblin.
Oh my gosh.
When placed on the ground, the toy moves 5 feet across the ground on each of your turns in the direction it is facing, making a loud wailing sound as it walks.
No!
When it is destroyed, roll a d20. On a roll of 12 or higher, the object explodes and in a sphere of 5 feet in diameter, dealing 1d4 piercing.
Oh my gosh, I don't like that it screams.
I love that it can't be subtle. You can't be like sneaky about sending it in.
It must scream, for it
That's
has a
so
mouth.
funny.
I mean, it is definitely like the
Well,
distraction,
shrapnel.
you know, like, I'll send in my bomb boy. And then, like, all the guards are up on the wall, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Wah!" as this, like, wind-up goblin walks out and then looks at them and just goes, boosh.
Very good.
Meanwhile, you've all snuck in the back.
So now,
Piercing damage, though?
Oh,
The shrapnel.
yeah,
No,
because
look,
it's
I
shrapnel,
understand how bombs work, but everything else about this entire race is fire damage.
Does fire damage.
And
Yeah.
gives you resistance to fire damage, and does more fire damage, and this does piercing damage? What
I
kind of
know.
inconsistency?
I know that it when it says it moves 5 feet every round, that it's just like, you know, the
It's progressive.
rounds are continuous, it's happening the whole time. But the way I initially pictured that in my head is that, like, consecutively on its round, it, like, looks around, sees if anyone notices, and just goes, ah! Like, another 5 feet. Like,
It
it's
stops
just,
each 5
like,
feet.
it stops and waits, and then it's like, ah!
I mean, maybe it does have to, like, wind up a little bit
It has to
each
rewind
time,
itself.
you know?
I like that
So-
in the blast orb, it said that it makes a ticking sound when you push the button. But I like to imagine that's unconnected from any of the workings of the device.
It just
Generates
makes a ticking noise.
sound, completely separate from how long
Well, it was
has
originally
to blow up.
supposed to be, like, a metronome, like, for band.
Yeah,
and
it
then
was
just
his
kept
attempt at
exploding.
making
It's
a
a
metronome.
poorly made metronome.
Yeah, a very poorly
And he was
made
like,
metronome.
well, I'll just use it for this other thing.
Yeah. And, like, while these are all cool, the Arsonist's Friend and the Bomb Boy are kind of bad.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, they only do, like, minimal damage, and, like, unless you trick someone into holding the Arsonist's Friend, but it's not even, like, that much damage, so you would be better just attacking them. And, like, while these are, like, neat and flavorful, like, the chance that, like, spending an hour and 10 gold has, like, literally more than a 50% chance of not doing anything.
Yeah, you have to commit
It's
hard
kind
to
of
this for flavor
annoying.
and not for any sort
It
of
did
mechanical
seem
benefit.
expensive to me.
Yeah.
Well, because that would be the sort of thing that it would be fine if it was basically free, because then you could just be doing it all the time for flavor.
Because you can recover the resources if it doesn't explode, but all of these explode, so that doesn't make any sense why they would include that part.
It should be free because they're goblins, and if you're like, oh, they can make it out of scraps, like they can literally just make it out of like, as long as it's like non-natural material.
Like, why do they have to purchase the finest metal?
It should be literally out of anything, Bean. It should be like they made it out of sticks and a mushroom, and you're like, how does that explode?
I made a pine cone bomb.
And you're like, look, I don't know, but it just does. Okay, everything I touch bursts into flame. It reminds me greatly of the TV show Dave the Barbarian, which we don't have to get into now because I've suppressed those memories. But there's an episode of the Disney TV show Dave the Barbarian where he says that he's going to construct a megaphone, and there's a narrator who says Dave then constructed a rudimentary megaphone using nothing but a squirrel, some string, and a megaphone. And I like to think that's sort of what's going on here, where they're like, I'm going to make a bomb using nothing but some leaves, some sticks, and a bomb. And you go, why did you have a bomb already? And why did the leaves and sticks? And you're like, don't ask, okay?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, and this is one of those scenarios where it's like, maybe some of these can come in handy, but there is a clear, correct answer. You make grenades and you throw them at people. That is what this sub...
Of these three options, that's the obviously best one. All right, Onog, tell us your final closing thoughts on this goblin race. What do you think? Compared to especially what we got in wherever we got, Sword Coast or Volos or wherever. How does it feel?
So yeah, as in compared to these, the goblin we got in the Volos Guide to Monsters, these certainly have a lot more flavor to them. The other goblin is sort of just like, he's sort of sneaky and he does more damage sometimes to things that are bigger to them. So on that regard, I think these are better. The Volos goblin is clearly more balanced and more fine-tuned. So it's just one of those things where maybe a happy marriage between these sub races and the official race, you could have a pretty neat goblin character just right out the gate already.
Yeah, I think so. Overall, it's the one in the book is something, but like a lot of published materials, I think what happens is it gets a little bit overbalanced, watered down, and it stops feeling really all that unique anymore because they're worried about it feeling too good or too crazy. And so I always like browsing for other options of things people have come up with on things like the wiki and being like, you know what, I'll just sneak this one extra ability in there. Just for my personal homebrew goblin.
I think what we got in Volo's Guide is a good start, but not where we should end our journey, kind of a thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, that's where we'll end the episode. Thanks for listening, travelers. If you have thoughts on goblins, or if you've seen a good homebrew goblin that you enjoyed, comment it below or send it to us. Tell us your thoughts on the goblin we got in the official printed material and how you think it succeeds or fails at representing a goblin in 5th edition for player options. And until next time, keep on adventuring.